Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to have a look at getting a logo out of Illustrator and into Blender specifically. Okay, so I've got a bit of a logo here and let's just get in and have a look at it. So I need to do a little bit of cleanup on this particular logo to make sure that it works in 3D nicely. So things like we don't want to have overlap because that can be a bit of a problem. Okay, so we're going to use the Pathfinder to get rid of that. And also text, we're going to have to convert that to curves. So that might be the first thing that I do. Got some type down here. I'm just going to go type create outlines, and that'll create our outlines. Great. Okay, so that will import now quite neatly into Blender. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is when I start to pull apart a logo to start to get ready for 3D, what I like to do is make sure that my units are basically set to millimeters because I'll always like to work in mils. And what I'll do is preferences general, and I like to set up this keyboard increment to a size that's going to like pull the parts out from the body of the logo, so I can work on them separately, push them back together. I find that's quicker than using layers and having to muck about with setting up layers. So this is the way I usually do it. So I'll set up 100 mil. I usually do it in like 100, 150, 200, you know, try and keep it numbers that I can remember in case I have to go backwards and redo it at any stage. Okay, so what I'm going to do is all of these pink squares on this particular logo, they'll all remain intact. But let's have a look at these triangle shapes because they are overlapping in different ways. And we need to make sure that they're sorted. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've pulled those out from the main body and I'm going to zoom in and have a look at these. And I like to use my Command Y and have a look at things in wireframe. And you can see here that things are chopping over the front and the back. Okay, so there's some overlap between these. In order to take them into 3D, what I'm going to do is actually remove. You can deal with the overlap, but let's do it the probably the proper way, and we'll ditch the overlaps. Okay, so what we can do is there's a couple of different ways of doing it. I'm often don't mind if it's not too complicated. I'll select the whole thing. Like in this case, you could use minus front and back, but I'm just going to go divide. And divide is basically going to chop the whole thing in different where everything overlaps. Okay, and that's actually okay because when I want something like that pink square to be solid, I'm just going to select that again and turn it solid. And I'm just going to push that away now. Actually got a little bit there. I'll just group that in with it. Okay, and I've got some parts there as well. So I just grab these parts and I push them across. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to weld all that back together. Okay, so I'm going to use my Unify up here. Okay, so I'm going to come down to this one. I want to be able to see all the parts on that front face, so I'm going to weld it together, push it across. I want to see, yep, that's on the front anyway, so it is pretty much a complete part. That's good. And then I want to push this across and this across. Oops. Just grab that, push it across. That's good. Okay, so now I can weld all that together. Great. Okay. So we can see now that when we use that filter, it sort of chop things apart. So let's start pulling them apart and see what we've got here. So I might just zoom out a little bit and I might just start. See what we've got here. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to group that one together. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to push it across so it looks pretty good. Yep. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to push it across. Okay. You can see it's cut out all the notches within this, and I'll push this one across, and what is this little bit here? Let's just go and hunt down where that goes. And we'll make sure we get all our bits and stick them together. Okay, so we know that we've got our logo now, and it's trimmed up pretty nicely. So when we take it out to Blender, we want to make sure that all our parts are kind of like, we can work with all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these base components in the magenta. 3, 4. I'm going to push them back across, and then I'm going to push it down. So it's sitting away from our logo a little bit. Okay, we'll reassemble it part by part back in our 3D software. Now I'm going to do the same with these. So I'm going to select one green part, and we can go, this is a good one, super handy, we can go same fill color, and we can see it's selected everything that's got the same fill color, and now we can pop that apart. Actually looks like there might be a little bit of combo there. There is. So I'll grab all that now. Oops, let's just grab that. Yep. Okay, and now I'm going to weld that together, and I'm also going to just group it together as well, just so it's easy to select. So when I want to grab that, I can just click on it as a whole. So I'm just going to move that back into the area. Then I'm going to select all these, and again, I'm just going to hit my weld. Thanks. Weld it all together and bring it back across, and I'll pop it down here. Okay. So that's given me most of the parts of my logo, but I just want to get in and have a look here. We've got the types done, that's cool. I've got a key line around the outside of this logo. So normally it would be a stroke, but what I've done is I've gone down to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and that's turned the stroke into a path. And then I've got my inside there. You can see I've got a couple of extra pieces here that I don't necessarily want. Okay, so sometimes they're hidden away in the black and you can't see them. So in that case, we're just going to delete them out. Let's have a look here. And I've got some other bits here. I'm going to delete those. So getting it nice and clean. You can see there's these little stripes holding some of these green panels together. So I'm just going to get in and delete that out of it. Okay, and click on this one, and just click on the node. I'm just using the white direct selector tool. There we go. So that's good. So they look nice and clean with all the notches where they should be. Diamonds look good, and the other green ones, I've just got a little bit of junk there. Let's just delete that. Okay, so they look nice and clean now. And we've got our font. So if we zoom in on our font over here, you'll see that it is now, it's outlined, and then I've got a couple of multiple outlines here, but it all looks pretty good. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's the component parts of my logo. So what I'm going to do is export it now, and then I'll be able to import it into Blender. Once we import it into Blender, we can fill the shapes again, so we'll have to recolor them, and then we'll be able to make the whole panel 3D, figure out how it sits as a 3D logo, and then we'll be able to start animating, which is a great process. So what we're going to do out of Illustrator is we're going to do an export. Should really save that before we get going, but anyway, and we're going to export a SVG. Now, first thing is I've gone into the wrong section there, so cancel that. I'll just hit save before I do anything. That's fine. So I'll save it as an Adobe Illustrator. I'll just go replace. Okay. And now I won't export. What I'll do is I'll do a save as and bring down my menu, and I've got SVG, scalable vector graphic. It's a really old file format, but it works really well. So let's export that. I'll export it to my desktop, and I'll just go save. When it brings this up, select the oldest version you can. So I've got SVG 1.0, and we don't need to really touch anything else. Just have it set up pretty much the same way, and as it is there. Hit OK, and it's going to save it out, which is good. So what I can then do is I can go into Blender, and I can open up a new file. Okay, so I'm going to reload my startup file. Good one. And for starters, we can see that I've got a cube hanging out there. So let's just X that out of the way. Camera, I don't think I really want that at the moment. It's just going to complicate things. And the light, let's ditch that as well. Okay, so we've just got ourselves a blank world. So now I'm going to go File, Import, and I'm going to import that SVG file. So I'm just going to go hunting down here to Scalable Vector Graphics. Yep, it's going to let me browse, and we can see here 72 example logo, and I'm going to go Import SVG, and it's going to come in super tiny, but it's all there, which is great. So what I'm going to do is, because it deleted the other things, if I hit select all, it's going to select all our parts of our logo, and I'm going to scale it up to something that's a bit more in keeping with the scale I like to work at. Okay, so we're looking a bit better now. Okay, that's good. Now I've actually improved the this a little bit, and it looks like it is actually filled with some colour, which is great. Okay, so the next thing, that now that we've got all these parts in here, we can start to work in 3D and build up that logo. Okay, so that is step one. Thank you.